government to remain focused come 2021. Hundreds welcome Late Sir Mek. And more bodies recovered in Goilala landslip.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayre.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Thursday's news. Prime Minister James Marape says his government will remain focused come 2021. In his New Year message, PM Marape says reforms will continue with better policies to grow provincial economies while opening up investments to improve the social sector. PM Marape called on all residents and citizens of the country to help contribute to building the nation in 2021.
In a recorded New Year's address to the nation, Prime Minister James Marape spoke highly of the reforms his government has charted since taking office in May 2019. Despite the political instability this year, slashing budgets and cleaning up government accounts will be a push to help repair the national budget. The Prime Minister says a focus will be on improving lending and attracting investment.
The path we've started to travel on is the same path we will travel on in 2021 in our efforts to make our country rich and where we're not leaving anyone behind, where our country becomes a country of opportunity for every citizen and everyone who calls PNG a home.
The Prime Minister says reforms in major policies in the oil and gas sector and provincial government and landowner interest will be visible in 2021. He says this is to grow provincial economies to support the social sector, more to improving electricity and the internet space.
These infrastructures and more that we will develop all of our country into the future should carry our rural economies and special economic zone emphasis for our country. We want to grow our economy so we can finance adequate quality service in our social sector.
Adding on, the Prime Minister says the Connect PNG plan to improve road network in the country will progress in 2021. PM Marape says government policies in health and education will also expand.
We will be working on allowing for private universities to enter our country or be set up in our country so that they could complement the need for more expansion in the tertiary sector space in as far as education is concerned. In the health sector, we are starting a specific provincial hospital program that will see firstly 5 of the 16 provincial hospitals developed as we embark on a 5-year development program for our provincial hospitals throughout our country, including building a special major referral hospital for Bougainville.
He concluded announcing the government's push to establish ICAC and eradicate corruption for a better PNG.
We will further institutionalize an independent commission against corruption. We will implement the Whistleblowers Act, the Proceeds of Crime Acts, and the Undisclosed Wealth Law will be brought into Parliament to ensure we strengthen our country's resolve to fight waste that is happening through corruption in all strata and government systems that currently I am managing, and I am seeing that corruption is a major issue, and I will not be deterred to ensure ICAC and all legislations that will make ICAC work given full support.
Jack Lapavi Jr., National EMTV News.
Despite the challenges faced this year, NCD Governor Paus Pakop wants to encourage everyone to welcome the new year peacefully. In his New Year's message, Governor Pakop talks about commitment and setting goals.
So generally too, I would like to call on all our people to welcome the new year in a peaceful way, celebrate it nicely, and have a lot of reflection. And if people are going to set goals, the important thing that we must understand is that words have no value if you do not put words into action. And many times people make, declaration, resolution, but these words and resolution are useless words if you do not implement them.
Today marks a sad New Year's Eve for some as the casket of late Sir Mek arrived at the Jacksons International Airport on a 1 p.m. Air Niugini flight from Brisbane, Australia. With a washdown of the flight and a guard of honour to welcome the casket of the former Prime Minister, members of the general public turned up in numbers as well to witness the arrival. Annette Cora reports.
While many may end the year 2020 on a high note this New Year's Eve, PNG will have one more reason to note this date down on their calendars: the arrival of the casket of one of PNG's reputable former Prime Minister, Sir Mek Marauta. And despite many local media personnel being given the backseat to the coverage of the arrival, this did little to hinder morale and report back what was witnessed at the airport today. As expected, the Prime Minister and the opposition leader, including some MPs and ministers, were at the airport awaiting the arrival of the casket. The casket of the late Sir Mek Marauta arrived at the Jackson's International Airport at 2 p.m. sharp on an Air Niugini flight from Brisbane, Australia. After the washdown of the flight, a guard of honor was displayed by the PNGDF, indicating that the plane hatch was now open. A signal gave way, and the flag of PNG dubbed over the casket of the former Prime Minister was assumed by members of the PNGDF and carried into the airport triage, where a short prayer was held to mark his safe arrival back into the country. Outside the International Airport car park, a good crowd turned up to witness the arrival, most sadly waving as the casket was brought out, put on the awaiting vehicle and transported out of the airport terminal. And while some shed tears, others were seen weeping. As to what extent, the people knew Sir Mek as a relative and a wantok, a fellow Papua New Guinean whose reforms has shaped PNG's status for many years. A recent update from the chairman of the organizing committee, Justin Chichenko, indicates that a state funeral has been planned out. The body of the late Sir Mek Marauta will lie in state for a mourning period of 8 days before it will be laid to rest. Annette Cora, National EMTV News.
Among many tributes to late Sir Mek Marauta, this one is from a woman who has worked closely with him when he first became Prime Minister in 1999. Matilda Pilacapio greatly mourns the death of Sir Mek Marauta, but also challenges young leaders to be like Sir Mek.
Matilda Pilacapio was one of the first few female politicians soon after PNG got independence. She walked out to meet us earlier this week in her Sir Mek shed. She remembers Sir Mek Marauta as one of the many young Papua New Guineans that were working closely with Sir Michael Sumare back in the pre-independence days, pushing for the country's independence.
Sir Robbie Lamaliu, Sir Charles Lepani, late Sir Anthony Siaguru, and late Sir Mek Marauta. They were the Gang of Four, graduates of Papua New Guinea University, and they guided the then Chief Minister, who is now the Grand Chief, Sir Michael Sumare. They guided him in the days of self-government, 1972 to 1975 independence.
She even remembers clearly when Sir Mek wanted to stand for election, because among the many people that he consulted, she was one of them.
Come 97 elections, and he met me somewhere around, and he said, "Oh, sister, we need to have a cup of tea, and let's discuss what I need to do in 97." And I knew exactly 97 is election year. So I said, "Oh, I better get some women around who can be his stronghold."
Why did she have so much trust in him?
Because I knew he was an honest leader. He's a straightforward shooter. And those are the type of people we need to lead this country.
When Sir Mek was the head of the country, Matilda was given the opportunity to work in the Agriculture Board, representing the southern region. Some of the reforms they put in place include the creation of the Coconut Industry Corporation.
Because you cannot have a regulator and at the same time selling copra overseas, which is Copra Marketing Board. No, you have to be to the business before. So the money can come in through licenses, which is happening today.
Like many Papua New Guineans, Matilda has again lost a dear friend and former colleague. She is grateful that Lady Roslyn and her son have agreed to bring Sir Mek back home to be laid to rest at the Independence Hill. Her plea to the current government is to take up the reforms that Sir Mek has left and complete them.
And I want the Prime Minister, from me to the Prime Minister, is to look onto some of the things that Sir Mek didn't have time to finish. Because remember, 3 years is not enough.
She says Sir Mek has left very big shoes to be filled and encourages students to look up to Sir Mek as their role model.
So I challenge the university graduates coming out. Take the bull by the horn and move. This is our country. If Sir Mek did it, why cannot you do it?
With her, Sir Mek shared a souvenir from the 2017 national general elections. She was at the airport today for the arrival of the body. Having retired from politics and public service duties, Matilda is now a renowned activist. She says she will continue to advocate on the principles Sir Mek believed in and stood for. Shamin Poreambep, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The PNG Accident and Investigation Commission has completed the report on the aircraft that was involved in attempting to smuggle cocaine out from Papa Lea in the Central Province. According to the pilot of the Cessna 402 aircraft, as the aircraft approached to land, the outboard section of the left wing was clipped by a tree and separated from the aircraft. The pilot, however, successfully proceeded to land. Once landed, the aircraft was refueled and loaded with cargo. In attempting to take off, the pilot noticed that the airspeed indicator was not working and that the aircraft was not achieving a positive rate of climb, forcing the pilot to crash land. In its final report, the AIC did not discard overweight, balance or center of gravity issues due to improper loading or restraint of the cargo as factors contributing to the failed liftoff. 5 more bodies were recovered today up in Goilala as work continues to retrieve the bodies of 15 people buried in a landslide on Monday. This now brings the total number of bodies recovered to 7, with 2 recovered yesterday. The Central Provincial Government and Goilala District Development Authority today flew in more food supplies and tools to the site of the landslide as people work to recover the remaining 8 bodies.
The supplies that were flown in today by officers from the Goilala district include food, basic tools like spade and coffin boxes for the deceased. Other supplies like fumigated body bags and corpse preservation chemicals will have been taken there by the Governor for Central, Robert Agarobe, on a separate flight. With 5 more bodies dug out today, these supplies will be used to keep those bodies as work continues to retrieve the rest of the missing persons. A generator with hoses have also been flown in to drain excess water that has clogged up from the landslide and has formed a mini dam. The exercise to retrieve bodies will continue throughout the week. The deceased are not from one particular location, and the task of sending each body back to their place of origin will be next after the recovery work is completed and all bodies retrieved. Local member William Sambe spent the last 2 nights at the site of the landslide and will advise of further arrangements from consultation with locals on the ground. The landslide occurred at 3 a.m. on Monday morning, burying houses with people sleeping inside. Authorities were notified when other alluvial miners also camped there, woke up to find the houses gone. The district and provincial authorities flew in on Tuesday and assisted to dig through the debris in their efforts to find the bodies of the 15 missing. Ruth Rungala, National EMTV News.
3 police officers in Medang have been suspended during the Christmas New Year operations. Provincial Police Commander Superintendent Rubiang Manzuk warned officers to work during this festive period and not slack off. Manzuk made those remarks following an unofficial parade this morning after noticing the level of performance by officers has dropped during this time.
PPC Superintendent Rubiang Manzuk called this morning's informal parade to get his officers back in line to ensure a safer New Year celebration for Medang people. Section heads were put on spotlight to discipline officers under their control and take note of officers who are working or not. They are also warned to release police vehicles for officers to use.
And 1% will be discipline and 1% problem to limit. Because I order money join NCIU. Section head now I meet a wash me too. Me tight him up discipline. But we plenty man suspended. Plenty man charge. Between me that can be before you see like big to us. Me no means me hating you. If you are suspended, if you are charged, it doesn't mean that I hate you. I just want to get in line, and you must understand that this is a discipline organization. They have to be a discipline, just to keep you in line.
The provincial police commander reminded his officers Medang has slowly restored peace and normalcy in terms of law and order. It is important that officers maintain a high level of discipline and work ethics. Superintendent Manju commended most officers who were and are still committed during the Christmas period.
We have a problem in New Year Christmas operation. Most of the guys, members, are confused. They don't know where to work. They don't know when to turn up. Especially Section 1 or Limeblom PSC also to turn up. Section that deployed to town, North Coast Highway, none of you can turn up. Medan has changed ECC now. Kalau saya akan pasim dulu ini, baik bapa harapkan now you have to start. Work operation you must move on them.
This is a combined operation involving CS officers from Beyond Correctional Institute. The officers will work 3 sections: South Coast Highway, North Coast, and within the Medang town vicinity. OIC Community Policing Senior Sergeant Peter Gorek says for North and South Coast Highway, they will not tolerate any drinking until after January 4th, 2021.
But Loras Dai, we just don't want to make people run into all trouble. Cutting some going to come out. It's time more consuming does that.
At 12 p.m. today, Medang Police conveyed in and around Medang town as a show of strength, as well as encouraging people to stay indoors and celebrate peacefully. The courts are closed during this festive season, and offenders caught during this time will not be granted bail until the new year. The men and women in blue had received 10,000 kina from police headquarters and 5,000 kina from Papindo for the operation. There was no other support from the business community in Medang to police. However, police will be in full force tonight in making sure there are no disturbances and that people celebrate New Year peacefully. Martha Lewis, National EMTV News, Medang.
A group of young men from Lay's West Taraka community are calling on the government leaders to work together with churches to develop human resources. They said churches are playing a vital role in the development of human resource, whilst the 3 levels of government are not seriously concerned about human development.
16 men from Lay's West Taraka community said they resorted to crime to make a living over the years because the government system was tough on them. They came forward yesterday and said they gave up criminal activities because they saw no future in it. This follows a 3-month mindset training conducted by Lutheran Pastor Martin Moel.
Olbin surrender on November 14th, Lodislaya. After surrender, mi kam bo konte mol stap na bian mi small golo on la retreat lo ampo na Pastor Yesamawara District President lo yabi montem Pastor Hermas Bakum Evangelism Department Secretary. Olbo konte min na mi plabin kismol sa line long mindset training lo rehabilitate mol na igat na repla course blong le mi stap long January or schedule me January time. January kam ba miximol ko schedule mol na mol BSP banki kam down lo opening mol starting of all one time SME program. Samla ligi capital church tintin lo putim and by giving long na starting of 16 plawgeta.
West Taraka used to be known by many as a notorious suburb located in the northwestern part of Lay City. It has a population of over 10,000 and is one of Lay's urban settlements where petty crime used to be common because of high unemployment.
Now me bla stop and me bla need him help him lo government. So now I'm set same guarantee me bla lo ogera something. So government come and by inap him ogera ting lo ogera mangi. So me bla man go pass we me bla looking me no go one pla road bail me bla set sta so bla me bla. So government comes support me bla sets now and by me bla walk bung nice lo ogera passing and settle.
16 men who used to take part in such criminal activities are now planning to become missionaries and small business owners.
Now this la situation lo problem and big la through in Chelo Papua New Guinea now. Time government em no ga honest pasin, one time church no ga honest pasin na. Ogara something em go corrupt. So by me blame him Mossad, by me blame him church, or by me blame him government no. So yutla one time em tubla government one time lo church na government em form lo heaven na come down nusla ground. Lo tubla ba wok bung na lookout mo gara man meri. Church gamani mol man meri, government gamani mol man meri na man meri bakshi support lo na map. Osem nabil lo mipla go begen lo church or church mas police socks lo no can work lo doctrine or no can work lo law almost work lo talk lo God na help him all man meri. Go begen lo government or no can work lo power or no can resist. Time resist lo power go gam environment bagarap. Na mi plan man meri mi plan bagarap no.
Julie Badui, Oa, National EMTV News, Late.
And now looking at the NAS Fund market report, the Kina opened unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank market this morning. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina will buy $0.2775 $0.3564 Australian dollars, $0.2173 euro, and 27.96 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee closed unchanged, cocoa and copra closed higher. Palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading higher, and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 73.89 points higher. The ASX 200 is trading at 9.53 points lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 6.82 points lower. National EMTV News returns with stories making headlines overseas after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, several explosions have hit Yemen's airports, killing at least 22 people. Dozens of television cameras were positioned on the runway to cover the new government arriving from Saudi Arabia when the blasts happened.
Hundreds of supporters had lined up on the tarmac to celebrate the arrival of Yemen's newly formed unity government from Saudi Arabia, the massive crowd surrounding the plane to greet the new cabinet. They were met instead by terror. Watch as the crowd runs from the explosion, moments after the officials start to disembark. The officials coming off the plane taken to safety. In all, at least 22 dead, more than 50 wounded. Yemen blamed Iranian-backed Houthi rebels for the attack. And late tonight, word of airstrikes around the rebel-held capital Sana'a. The country has been locked in a bloody civil war for years. It escalated when a Saudi-led coalition launched a military operation in 2015, which has since left the world's poorest country with over 100,000 dead and a famine which the UN calls the worst humanitarian crisis on Earth. This new unity government has been formed just a month before Joe Biden takes office himself. He's been critical of Saudi Arabia's destabilizing role in the region and its proxy wars with Iran. It'll be one of the biggest foreign policy challenges he'll face as president.
There is a glimmer of hope for Britain after the much-awaited Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine was approved for use. It's the second COVID-19 vaccine to be approved in the UK and comes as 981 people died of the virus in the last 24-hour period.
Another vaccine to protect millions of Britons.
We are another step closer in helping to defeat this virus.
And next year, it could change the lives of Kiwis too.
This is great news. This is amazing speed to get to this stage.
Professor Murdoch helped advise Oxford University as it developed the vaccine with pharmaceutical firm AstraZeneca. It's one of 4 vaccines pre-purchased by the New Zealand government. So what makes this one different? The Oxford AstraZeneca's the cheapest of the bunch at just $5 a shot. It's the easiest to transport, no ultra-cold freezers required. All it needs is a normal fridge temperature.
The combination of it being cheaper and easier to store really does mean it should be able to be utilised much more widely around the world, and it's been talked about as a vaccine for the world because of that.
But unlike the others, 2 jabs are needed instead of 1, and initial trials showed it's just 70% effective.
We were looking at something over 60%. We would have been, 60-70% would have been great. Now we've got several, and we are seeing, we're very interested to see the results of the studies as they come out with more detail.
You can have every confidence in the safety, in the effectiveness and in the quality.
The Health Ministry says 7.6 million doses should arrive here between April and June, while in Britain 100 million doses are already being rolled out.
I really think by the end of March, we will be in a very different place.
Scientists aim to produce 3 billion doses of Oxford AstraZeneca in less than a year. The race now on between virus and vaccine.
Today marks a year since officials in the Chinese city of Wuhan raised the alarm over a mysterious pneumonia outbreak. Back then, the virus didn't have a name and the prospect of the global pandemic wasn't on our radar.
Wuhan ground zero. It's from here the virus spread globally. China slow to respond at first, then frantically building hospitals and locking down cities, putting 60 million people under quarantine. But the virus was already on the move. This cruise ship off Japan became a floating petri dish of contagion.
We can't talk to anybody because we are confined to the cabins.
The epicenter shifting from Wuhan to Iran, then to Italy.
Europe has now become the epicenter of the pandemic.
Hospitals overwhelmed, doctors forced to choose who lived and who died.
We are near to the collapse in the most organized part of the country.
On March 11, the World Health Organization announced
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Borders started closing.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
By the end of March, more than 100 countries were in some sort of lockdown. The elderly particularly at risk. The virus ripped through rest homes with devastating effects.
Many more families are going to lose loved ones before their time.
It's denied dignity and death for hundreds of thousands of people. Funerals banned, instead mass burials in Brazil, Italy and New York. The United States has remained the viral epicenter.
783 people, 777, 799. These are just incredible numbers.
From the start, President Donald Trump downplayed the threat.
You know it is going away, and it will go away.
He's flouted social distancing rules, dismissed face masks, and reimagined science.
And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute.
Taiwan, Singapore and Hong Kong have been praised for their response, restricting travel and using technology for contact tracing.
We can use this app to track the location of the confinee.
But the virus is smashing records. Italy's deaths are heading for World War II levels, and in the US the toll has passed 300,000, before finally a breakthrough, a vaccine. Now it's a race between injections and infections. A virulent strain has emerged in the UK and it's spreading across the world.
This news about the new variant has been an incredibly difficult end to, frankly, an awful year.
Cue more lockdowns, travel bans, and a Christmas like no other.
You are not alone. And let me assure you of my thoughts and prayers.
British hospitals are struggling to cope with the surge.
This time it's a wave. This time we've seen a massive increase.
COVID-19, a virus that changed the world in 2020, and we still don't know what the long-term effects will be.
New Zealand Corrections says the 17 inmates protesting on a roof at Waikiria prison for 3 days offered to surrender if allowed to speak with Maori elders. This request was granted, but the prisoners have gone back on their agreement and still refuse to give up their resistance. The heat is believed to be taking its toll on the prisoners, who set the jail on fire on Tuesday, causing significant damage.
High on the roof of what's known as the old jail, the 17 inmates have been taking turns. Half keep watch in the 24-degree heat as others sleep. One dons a T-shirt, others pace, as guards below traverse what looks like a bomb site from smouldering fires, while at the gate, a prison officer's daughter waits.
You just don't know whether it's going to turn violent, or you're just hoping that they're going to give in. You just don't know what they're thinking.
A third of Waikiria prison is now destroyed following the protest. Their gripe, conditions inside the oldest unit built in 1911. The jail they've now destroyed. It'll be 2022 before the replacement unit under construction is finished. The only man the prisoners want to negotiate with, co-leader of the Māori Party, Rawiri Waititi.
We've just got to make sure that we ensure that we can move our egos out of the way and ensure that the safety of our people is paramount. And if it means that the only person they'll talk to is myself, I'm willing to go in there and talk to them.
Corrections wouldn't front today, but yesterday said thanks but no thanks to the MP.
I would leave that process through to our negotiation teams to manage.
But the 17 atop the roof are digging in, and up until this morning claimed they'd had no food or water since Tuesday. At 8 a.m, one told us they're thirsty, squeezing water out of an old fire hose, but the water is brown. They also said they're filtering their own urine through tissues.
If they allow me to go in and talk to those to our whānau, it could result amicably. This is what needs to happen, because the current system is broken and it continues to feast on the dysfunction it creates.
Corrections maintains it wasn't aware of prisoners' ongoing complaints before this, claims of long waits for medical help, a lack of toilet paper and clean bedding. For now, it's focused on a safe resolution, it says, moving up to 200 other inmates to jails around the North Island. Up on the roof, it's 54 hours and counting, and for the 7 gangs represented up here, patches are in the past. They tell us in this fight, they're now one team.
And Chukai Sports is next. Kilawani will join you with all the details after the break. Stay with us.
Chukai Sports.
Good evening and welcome to Chukai Sports. From the desire to see change in a renowned, notorious community in the nation's capital, a group of young men from Tokarara suburb of Port Moresby organized touch rugby and soccer competitions for the youths in the area. Tokarara suburb in the nation's capital is one of the communities known for notorious activities. This is set to change as young men who have spent all their lives in the suburb step up to take the lead in pursuit of a better future. Danny Nobe, along with Justin Liu and Japhet Kolesa, decided to organize community sports. A desire to change for the better at the heart of their plans.
Keeping more youth busy. Kambe ken lo some tintin lo away lo drugs na. Some alcohol abuse. Petty crime number lo involved sa community ko bagarap so mitla kampon sa tintin na mitla starting the program.
The Decora competition started in September and concluded successfully last Sunday. Hillside Rabbitohs claiming the inaugural Decora Touch Rugby 2020 title. While the Decora comp concluded its tournament, the youths are still eager to play. Hence, President Danny and hardworking team organized short games with the help of local elites. The short New Year's games started yesterday at the community field. Over 800 youths have participated and are back to take part in the 3 days games.
B grade, female soccer, A grade. So it's a total of 54 clubs. So it times in by its numbers inside them by giving you 800 plus youths who can participate in the competition stuff. youths around worried.
As the new year dawns, youths are wondering if this competition will continue. President gives assurance that 2021 plans are already underway.
Organizers mula siram ken lo starting ken lo match. La starting ken and bamla mitlo ba starting ken bamla running mosam normal round 1, round 2.
With such a great cause to see change in their community, the president is reaching out for support.
Community initiatives so support so members. Now I'm member Blumpla Northwest Late Sir Mek and passed away finish. You mean so said by go next kisim la sit. But suppose some kisia said you kisim this youth power blows tomorrow the country so me need him support lo come now so me like come support him like an initiative lo pushing more youth to go forward lo positive activities.
And KSS Southern Flames in-house tournament started yesterday at the Goilala basketball courts in the nation's capital. Ronnie Capinato, owner of the KSS Southern Flames, says this is in preparation towards the 2021 PNG Men's Basketball League.
This year was just unfortunate because of the COVID-19, and we decided to do it now while it's free. A lot of sports has been on, and so I decided to do that because I have my preparation for next year, PNBL. We have our women's team and our youth, which is our select from here, and I speak to the senior boys, please help out with these so that it can be more interesting. In the morning, the little kids play under 13. They played in the morning. Tomorrow they will play again, then after the senior team. But the reason I'm doing this, I really want to pick most of the younger players out from this new year. Hopefully they can engage to something good. And that's the reason I'm doing that. And just to say thank you to my team, for Flames, for being the champions and Mana Premier for the past 6 years. It's really exciting. When we went to Lay, we beat the champions of Lay. And give back to them. 2 other year we didn't attend to them. It's exciting and I'm very excited about that.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Good night. Now this Flami National EMTV News Long Talk Pisin. Prime Minister James Marape long talk blongem long new player ito government blongem bago het long kamapim all reforms or senis inside long all province long strong im rot blongol long make money. Prime Minister is sing out long ogataman Mary long help him too long one em rot oliken long halvim long strong im country. Time planti irere long welcome him new player 2021 country 2 is tap long sore long dai long member long Mosby Northwest na pastime Prime Minister Seme Kerry Marauta emi bin dai long Brisbane Australia body blong MTT come up long Port Moresby. Prime Minister James Marape one time sample member long Parliament now big man Marina public here long Port Moresby he come up long airport long welcome him body blong Seme Kerry. Today start him to 8 pla day blong bell sore he go in up funeral service long number 8 day blong moon January. 5 pla more body only panim tete long Goilala behind long 1 pla big pla ground broke long Monday. 7 pla body ogata only now panim. 2 pla body only been panim aste. 15 pla man ogata ground ibin buruk na karamapimol. Government blong Central Province na Goilala district I walk 1 time long panim ogata body. Naim Tasol News Long Talk Pisin. Naim Tasol Pinisim. Naim Tasol News Long Talk Pisin. Maki Mouse Blong MTV News Team. You got good plan night na Hamamas Blong New Player 2021.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. She helped pave the way for women's cricket right around the world. Now Debbie Hockley is being given a New Year's honour to be a companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit. It's a silver lining of sorts for Hockley, who's had her fair share of off-field batters in the past 24 months.
Be Debbie Hockley's happy place, but it's arguably out in the middle where she feels most at home.
100 for Debbie Hockley.
You know, it's been 20 years since I finished playing, and the number of opportunities that I've had since I've played, you know, things like selecting, being involved with cricket commentary has been fair.
Hockley's career has been illustrious to say the least. A New Zealand rep for 20 years and an integral part of the 2000 World Cup winning side. She then went on to be inducted into the ICC Hall of Fame in 2013 before being elected New Zealand cricket's first female president, her current role. Yet somehow today's accolade still came as a surprise.
I thought, what? And I do have to admit that I did email the honours unit just to make sure that someone wasn't playing a prank. It's pretty cool. I'm a really proud New Zealander.
It caps off a challenging 2020 for Hockley, who just finished endometrial cancer treatment, only to be struck with another form of cancer in May.
I went and had a mammogram, just routine screening, and blooming well got diagnosed with breast cancer. So subsequently I've had a mastectomy, but you know, I'm one of the really lucky people who have done pretty well with treatment so far, and again, I tell you, I'm 2 for 2.
So for the second time on national television, she's urging women to go get checked.
I'm a living, breathing example of the benefits of those things, and my burning ambition for next year is to not be on telly again like this, and to be able to successfully go to the dentist and have a clean check-up and not find cancer in my teeth. Yeah.
And if there's one thing 2020's taught Debbie Hockley, it's to stop and smell the roses.
And that story ends True Kai Sports. Helen will be back with the weather report. Don't go away.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
Don't go.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus. With you always.
A look at the weather forecast for this afternoon and tonight in the southern region. Fine, partly sunny weather with chances of afternoon showers and possible showers in Port Moresby. In Daru, Kirrama and Allentown, fine, partly cloudy weather with chance of afternoon showers and cloudy with rain showers at times in Popondetta.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus. With you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for today, Thursday, the 31st of December 2020. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, wishing you all a safe and pleasant New Year celebrations. Bye for now.